Hi, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Sam, I'm the So Real Crafty Girl, and in today's video tutorial, I'm going to show you how to create your own sourdough starter from scratch. If that sounds like something that you're interested in, please hit that like and subscribe button and follow along. Creating your own sourdough starter is so easy. It's just combining flour and water. And then there's natural yeast within flours, as long as you're using the right flour. I'll get to that in just a second. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna cultivate the natural yeast that's in the flour. So the type of flour you actually wanna use is unbleached all-purpose flour, and you can just use that, but I find it works better if I also add whole wheat flour. So I'll make 50-50. So I'm actually going to use 70 grams of water, 35 grams of all-purpose flour, and 35 grams of whole wheat flour to do this today. So I just have here a wide mouth mason jar. You can mix it all right in the jar. I'm going to set it on my scale and zero it out. And then let's go in with 35 grams of all-purpose. Unbleached. It has to be unbleached. Whoops, that's way too much. There we go. And then, whoop, and then 35 of my whole wheat. Close. Come on, there we go. Okay, and then zero my scale and add 70 grams of filtered water. You want to make sure that you're using filtered water. We have a reverse osmosis tank in our house, so it's already has the chlorine removed. But if you're using city water, you might not get as good of a result because there's chlorine in that. So whenever you can use filtered water that doesn't have chlorine or bottled water, that's gonna work out better for you. And you're just gonna mix it all together. Make sure you get all the flour incorporated. We don't want any dry flour in there. So I get my rubber spatula and get all the way to the bottom of the jar. There we go, that looks good. And then I'm just gonna scrape down the sides a little bit just so I can see what level I'm at, because we're gonna wanna monitor how fast it grows. So I'm gonna take a rubber band. I'm just gonna put it around the jar, right at the level that the starter is at now. Well, it's just flour and water right now, but right where it's at now. And then you're gonna wanna cover it with a lid. This is the lid for the mason jar, so it does have a rubber seal on it. There's gonna be carbon dioxide building up inside this while it's growing and fermenting, so you wanna just loosely cover it. You can just cover it with the lid like that and not screw the lid on. I just very gently put it on just so it doesn't get dislodged. And then just put it somewhere warm in your house. On top of your refrigerator works. It's summer here in California. Well, it's actually almost summer. It feels like summer in California. It's like 80 degrees today. So on my kitchen counter, it will be fine for the next few days. And then it'll take 2 to 3 days to grow. It kind of just depends on how warm your house is. If you live in a colder climate, it may take 3 to 4 days. So I'm gonna anticipate maybe seeing some activity in 2 days. And then once you start to see a little bit of activity, you're going to feed it. So that will be step 2, which I will do in a couple of days. So see you then. I'm back, it's been 2 days, and you can see how much it has already risen. It has doubled in size in 2 days, which is amazing. It's wonderful. I'm gonna show you how bubbly it actually is. See, you can really see how bubbly and active it's become in just 2 days. It's alive in there. Look at that. So what it needs now is it needs another feeding. So we're gonna go ahead and do that. Okay, so if you remember 2 days ago, what I did is I put in equal amounts of flour and water. So 50% flour, 50% water, 100% hydration is what they call it, because it's equal parts. So now that it has become bubbly and active, it's not ready to use yet. So we're going to discard about half of it. little more than half, it's fine. Okay, so it smells earthy. So it's not, you can tell it's not ready yet. It'll start smelling sour when it's ready. So right now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put it on my scale. You don't have to use a scale, but I find it's easier to stay accurate. You just wanna get it to that pancake, like thick pancake dough consistency. So I'm gonna feed it again, just like I did on Monday, it's now Wednesday. I'm gonna give it 70 grams of water. Close enough, 72. And clear up my scale. And like I said, like I did before, half whole wheat flour and half unbleached all-purpose flour. So let's go for 35. 35 whole wheat and 35 of all-purpose, unbleached. Perfect. And then all we do is give it a mix. Yeah, make sure all the flour is incorporated. You don't want any dry flour in there. Really get to the bottom of there. And I like to kind of scrape down the sides a little bit. There's a little dry flour right there. Okay, good. And now you'll notice that what I did is I have a rubber band on here, and I just set the rubber band at the height that it's at when I'm going to set it to rise. And then that way you can track how much it has grown since the last time you fed it. So because mine became so active within just 2 days, I anticipate this is going to really get very active very fast. So you're still not going to want to use it for a few more days though. So I'll probably have to come back to this tomorrow and feed it again, and I'll show you that when that happens. Okay, I'm back. It's day 4 now of creating our sourdough starter, and as you can see, it did double in size in about 24 hours it took. It actually did rise up a little more and it shrank back down, which is perfect. It's exactly what we're looking for. And so now what we're going to start doing on day 4 is we're going to start feeding it twice a day. So once in the morning and once at night. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to discard more now than I did before. Before I left about 1/4 cup in there, and now I'm actually going to leave a very small amount, maybe about 2 tablespoons, maybe 1.5, 2 tablespoons left in there. By discarding a little more and leaving less in there, it's forcing the starter to work harder to consume the flour. So it will rise a little bit slower when there's less in there, but trust me, this works. So what I'm gonna do, because I wanna feed it twice a day and I don't wanna have to discard again before I feed it tonight, is I'm going to give it 30 grams of flour and 30 grams of water, and then just repeat that tonight before going to bed. So let's start with, remember I'm using half all-purpose flour and half whole wheat flour, so I'm going to do 15 grams of each. Okay, and so my 15 grams of the whole wheat flour. Perfect. And then zero out my scale and 30 grams of water. I went a little bit over, it's okay. I'm just gonna add a little more flour to compensate. It's not an exact science, it just has to be that thick, like a thick pasty pancake, like a thick pancake batter is what I'm trying to say. So again, just gonna mix it. Make sure you get all of the flour wet. Scrape the jar down a little bit. Okay, and then I'm going to move my rubber band to the correct height. So Kind of move it down a little bit because we're feeding it a little bit less now. So move it back down and then cover it up. Not too tight, just loosely. And then we'll come back to this. I'm gonna feed it again tonight. And then I'll show you what it looks like tomorrow. It should be getting really active. And you'll know that it's ready to bake with, after about 7 days, it will start to double in size within 4 to 6 hours. Once it's done that, it's still a little weak because it's still in an infant stage. So if you can just keep feeding it twice a day for about 10 days maybe, then it will get stronger and stronger each time you feed it, and then it'll be ready to bake. The reason you can't bake with it when it's still in its infancy is because it's not really strong enough to take on large amounts of flour that you will be using in a bread dough. So we'll come back to that again tomorrow and see how it looks. And then in a future video, I'm actually going to show you how to turn this exact starter that I'm making right now into a beautiful loaf of sourdough. So I'll see you tomorrow. It's not actually the next day, it is day 10 of creating our own sourdough starter. What I just did is I just continued feeding it every morning and every night for the past 6 days. So now we're on day 10. And towards the end, what I was doing is I was keeping very little starter in the jar, probably the equivalent to 1 tablespoon. I would just unscrew the lid and turn it upside down, tip out all the contents of the jar, and then just a residue would be inside the jar. And then I would feed it. So I would discard every morning, feed in the morning, feed at night, and let's see what it looks like. You see how bubbly and active it's become? Get a close up there. It's beautiful. This is now ready to bake with. It just needs one more feeding right before you're going to bake with it. Give it one last feeding and you're good to go. Now that you see how easy it is to create your own sourdough starter, I hope you give this recipe a try. If you do, or if you have any questions, comment down below. And then in my next video, I'm going to show you how to turn this starter that we made into this beautiful loaf of sourdough. So follow me and hit the bell notifications and subscribe button, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.